So there's been a bunch of different articles written since the election of Donald Trump that are basically trying to nail down who will be the 2020 contenders for the Democrats. And I have yet to read one that didn't make me sad and or angry. So I want to give you some of the names that they've been floating so you can also experience the deep, severe pain that I felt when I went through these articles. So first of all, the name that's probably floated the most, Tim Kaine. See, this is how deep the thinking goes among the establishment media people. They think, well, okay, it was Hillary Clinton before. Tim Kaine was the VP, so let's go with Tim Kaine because people know him. They like Tim Kaine. The progressive base would laugh Tim Kaine out of the room. There's no way he'd make it through a primary. He would get defeated in an embarrassing way. In fact, I almost want him to run just so I can laugh. Tim Kaine is for TPP. Tim Kaine is basically open in his centrism and moderation. So in other words, in the spectrum in Washington, to be a centrist means you're just kind of right-wing. So he's like a right-wing corporate Democrat through and through. Basically the antithesis of what the base is calling for and what your average Joe Democrat is calling for. They want somebody who's aggressive. They want somebody who's a strong liberal or a strong progressive to fight back against Donald Trump and to basically stay true to our value system and implement the things that the polls show that the American people want implemented. Tim Kaine is the last person. Never mind the fact that he has the personality of a burnt piece of whole wheat toast. That's what Tim Kaine is. It's a race right now between Tim Kaine, Chuck Todd, and Wolf Blitzer as to who's the most boring white man in the United States of America. One of them is the human version of oatmeal. The other one is the human version of burnt whole wheat toast. And, sprinkle in graham crackers for the other one. Well, actually, graham crackers are delicious, and those guys are not delicious in any way. That's gross. I just use delicious in the same sentence as those guys. But they're just as boring as it gets. I mean, I would rather sit there and watch paint dry than listen to Wolf Blitzer say anything. The guy's never had an original thought in his life. He's a robot. He's programmed to go out there and do establishment talking points. And Tim Kaine is the same. He's, I'm the cool dad. I just took the kids to soccer practice. Anyway, let me vote for TPP and screw over the regular working people while I pretend like I'm on your side. Donald Trump, even with his record high unfavorables, I think would beat Tim Kaine. So that's the first one that's being floated. The next one is, oh God, I hope you're ready for this. Mark Cuban. So some establishment Democrats are thinking, well, Trump is a bombastic billionaire who got elected, and maybe that's like in fashion right now. So let's go with Mark Cuban, our own bombastic billionaire. Yeah, here's the problem. He's not actually like a liberal version of Trump because he's not really liberal. So this idea of like, let's just get our own billionaire who will also kind of do what the establishment wants. No, if you're going to run somebody who's like Trump in their rhetoric and how they talk and how aggressive they are, why not marry that together with somebody who's actually for the right things? Well, they don't want to do that, and they can't do that because the Democratic Party is beholden to the corporations and to the establishment. So with a guy like Mark Cuban, they go, oh, he'll play ball with the establishment, but he'll also be like our Trump, and he's not afraid to be bombastic. But that's such a silly way of thinking. I get the appeal and the idea of trying to get somebody who has the same kind of straight shooter appeal as Trump, even though Trump is not a straight shooter, but like that has that aura about him. I get that. But if you don't have somebody who actually represents what the progressive base wants, they're not going to fucking show up. Not going to vote for him. So no, Mark Cuban is a horrible idea. But again, it's anything to try to keep the corporate Democrats in control while trying to do kabuki theater and do acting to pull the wool over your eyes again and say, oh no, this is what you want, Democratic base. So, but instead of delivering on policy and delivering on the things that matter, they're going to deliver in all the other ways. They're going to deliver in all the vain ways. They're going to deliver in all the ways when it comes to the characteristics and the qualities of the person as opposed to what they're actually going to do. So then we have Kirsten Gillibrand is being floated. Kirsten Gillibrand is Hillary Clinton 2.0. Now, they're trying to pretend like she's not, and she's being smart in that and clever in that what she's done is voted against every single Donald Trump appointment. Because she's thinking, oh, this will really get me some, brownie points with the progressive base. But the problem, Kirsten, is that when we look at the rest of your record, that's an anomaly. It's an anomaly that you do the right thing. It's an anomaly that you stand up and fight for progressive values and say, no, I'm going to oppose all of Donald Trump's shitty picks. Because, for example, she very vocally supported Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders during the primary. But she also waged really hacky attacks against him where she argued that Bernie Sanders is callous and doesn't understand the pain of the mothers who lost children from gun violence. So, Bernie Sanders D- or whatever the fuck his grade is from the NRA, that makes him like a gun nut in the eyes of Kirsten Gillibrand. But it doesn't really. She's just using that as a hack attack because she was trying to bolster Hillary Clinton and put down Bernie Sanders. And she also, she, as far as Democrats go, like I said, she's Hillary Clinton 2.0. She's a darling of Wall Street. So, no, that's not a good pick. It's not going to work. Now that we have the easy availability of information, the free flow of information online, you're not going to be able to fool the progressive base anymore. And they're so sick of getting burned that they're not going to take any bullshit. So if you go down that path, that'll be a disaster too. Now, the sad thing is that might be the most viable of all the different options that the establishment is floating. like Kirsten Gillibrand, she would actually be better than Mark Cuban, or you ready for the next one? They're floating Cory Booker. It might be time for a revolution if they really try to get Cory Booker in there. Like I think Cory Booker's going to run, but there's a good chance he doesn't get through the primary. You know what I mean? And if he does get through the primary, I do think Trump will probably beat him in the general. Because Cory Booker has elicits the same kind of response from progressives as Hillary Clinton did. Like, Hillary Clinton could not get the base excited because she doesn't give a fuck about the base, and that was clear. It was clear with, her entire career, her voting record, her coziness with Wall Street. And so progressives were like, pretty much fuck you. Like, we don't care. Cory Booker, he just recently testified against Jeff Sessions to try to prevent him from becoming attorney general and made a big deal about how this is historic that I'm doing this. No sitting senator has ever testified against another sitting senator when they were picked for attorney general. And he tried to make a big thing about it. But then guess what he did like 2 days later? He voted against a Bernie Sanders amendment that would have lowered the cost of drugs massively. It was a bill to import drugs from Canada. And when you import drugs from Canada, you cut the price in half, sometimes more. Because here in the U.S., they can't legally negotiate with the drug companies for better prices. So whatever price the drug company says, they're just price gouging you, and you have to say, okay, I'm handcuffed, I agree to it. So it would save a lot of people a lot of money and get them the medication that they need. Cory Booker voted against it. Why? He took over $300,000 from the pharmaceutical companies, and many pharmaceutical companies are based in New Jersey, his state, where he's from. And then he lies and comes out there and gives a pharmaceutical talking point. No. The reason that I voted against it is simply because, I'm scared that the FDA isn't regulating these drugs. Yeah, let's go with that. Meanwhile, hey, dipshit, the regulations in Canada are even stricter. So, what are you talking about? This idea that they're just not safe drugs. Right, people are dropping dead all the time from bad drugs in Canada. He's just a liar, and he's an establishment shill. So the sad thing is, on the list of the people I've read, fucking Kirsten Gillibrand is not good, and she's the best of the ones that are offered. Let me give you more. This one's not bad for policy reasons as much as bad for... It's just a weird, sycophantic corporate Democrat pipe dream. Michelle Obama. This is another name that's been floated for 2020. Like, can we just break this dynasty garbage, please? Like, the idea that we went George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and then almost Clinton again, almost Hillary Clinton the next time. And so then you actually had Obama, and then we almost went Hillary Clinton, and then what? We're going to get Michelle Obama again, so another Obama? Like, why don't we just go ahead and shuffle between, the Kennedys, the Bushes, the Clintons, and now apparently the these Obamas are what people want. Guys, stop making cults of personality. It's got to be about the policies. It's got to be about the issues. It's got to be about what they're going to do for the American people. And I honestly have nothing against Michelle Obama. In fact, there were some articles that I've read that indicate that she's actually significantly more progressive than Barack Obama, and that she was an influence kind of pulling him to the left a little bit. So I have nothing against her. But there's something really sick about the idea that policy doesn't even enter into the equation of the corporate Democrats who just kind of float her name as maybe her. So the final one that they're floating here that I want to lay out for you guys. Hillary Clinton again. I just saw an article yesterday, Politico, titled, Hillary Clinton is running again. I felt a pain in my stomach. I was like, oh, that's like a gut shot. Oh man, that's terrible. That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Now, of course, the article, it's not conclusive. They didn't get some sort of word in advance from Hillary Clinton, but they're describing how, well, if you look at what she's doing, she didn't say in her concession speech that I'm done for good now, and she just recently signed signed up for another book deal, and usually what happens is before people run for office, they do a goofy book that nobody reads, and then they run for office. It's just one of the things in the steps that people do. So the fact that she did another book, now they said, oh, well, it's like her 7th book or something, but hey, so maybe it's just a book for a book's sake, but, they also followed through on shutting down part of the Clinton Foundation. Now, the part of the Clinton Foundation that they shut down is the part where everybody said you have to shut it down because it just looks like a slush fund and it looks like it's graft and pay to play and corruption. And so now they let that shut down. So now the idea is, well, she's going to run in 2020, and when she runs in 2020, she's going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. That part of the Clinton Foundation shut down. I don't know what you're talking about. As if that still erases the rest of her record. And the $3 billion the Clinton family has taken from special interests in their careers, and the $625,000 she got from Goldman Sachs for that speech, for those few speeches. So, look, there is a chance she runs again. And if she runs again, I think she'll get crushed in the primary. I do. I mean, I would be amazed if that didn't happen. If she ran again and she didn't get crushed in the primary, I'm going to have to reevaluate my life. So anyway, I tell you that all these stories, and there are some, better names that have been floated. Not that the names are perfect, but better than these by far, like Elizabeth Warren, for example. But I say all that to tell you guys, this is why we need Justice Democrats. They didn't fucking learn a thing. People, have been tweeting at me and stuff and trying to say oh yeah, hasn't Trump awakened the left? Awakened the left? Every single Trump pick has been approved. The corporate Democrats are still in control of the party. Chuck Schumer is fucking leading it. Nancy Pelosi is one of the top figures. And they're rolling over at every turn. And I'm gonna sit here and be happy? Hey, at least we're awake. But if your wokeness doesn't transfer and translate into getting our policy goals, then what the fuck is the point of being awake? No, we have to win when it comes to policy. And it may be the case that among the people, there's this anger and there's this fervor and there's this backlash, but we have to harness that into organizing and blocking Trump's policies and getting our own policies implemented. And right now, this is the fear. The fear is the Democratic Party is a weak corporate entity. It's a shell of its former self. So, you might have this feeling among the people of, yeah, we're ready to fight back now, but the fucking leadership in Washington is taking it in the ass daily. So, no, they haven't learned a goddamn thing. If they had learned, and if there was really the unified backlash that we're talking about, the Hillary people and the corporate Democrats would have said, you know what, we were wrong. Bernie would have won. Look at the polls. Look, it's obvious. Hillary got defeated by this buffoon with a meerkat on his head. For fuck's sake, we concede. You'd have all the Robbie Mook and all these people who were part of her campaign, feeling shame in a cave somewhere, reevaluating their life decisions. They're not doing that. They're still taking over the party. They're still in the fucking DNC right now. Right now. They just staffed Trump's war room with, the anti-Trump war room, I should say, with Hillary people. People who were on her campaign. That's like the last people I would ever pick to be in that war room because they've already proven they can't beat them. So, no, they're still holding on to power, and these names that they're floating prove it, that they haven't learned anything, or they just don't care, and they'll rather self-destruct and do party suicide than correct course if it means divorcing from the corporations. So we have Justice Democrats to try to force that change. Guys, we're doing Justice Democrats out of necessity. It's not like we were sitting around and it's like, well, what should we do? I don't know, you want to try a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party? No! It was like, oh my God, if we don't do this, progressives are going to get so thoroughly steamrolled that they roll the clock back fucking 70 years on all the progress we even made. So it's more out of necessity than anything. So Justice Democrats is the answer. We're trying to take back the Senate and take back the House and have you run. We're not waiting for anybody else anymore. It's you. Go to justicedemocrats.com. Nominate somebody in your community who you know, hey, I know this person would be a great representative and they know their shit. Nominate them. And then we're gonna vet them. We're gonna train them. We're gonna run them, and we're gonna try to get rid of the corporate Democrats. And we're doing it again because we have no goddamn choice. How will it feel if in 2020 your options are fucking in the primary Mark Cuban, Cory Booker, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine? How the fuck would that feel? How would that feel? I don't want that feeling, man. There's been enough despair with this election already, and there's been enough despair with the way these Republicans and Democrats act already. So we have to fight back. Go to justicedemocrats.com, sign up. At the very least, just sign your name in support of the movement. At the very least, because the higher that number is, the more the establishment feels it, the more they're scared, and the more we make an impact, and the more we push them on policy. So at least sign your name in support of it. At the very least, do that. But I want you to get more involved. I want you to run. I want you to donate your $27 like this is Bernie Sanders' movement, because we're taking a pledge. No corporate money, no billionaire money. None. So it's a movement of by and for the people, and it's a movement of the Bernie wing, the actual base of the Democratic Party who are correct on policy to take over the party. And we're trying to bring about a situation where the Mark Cubans and the Cory Bookers fucking step aside and we rise up.